Welcome, welcome, welcome. This is the Public Works Podcast. My name is Joseph Blackman. Today, I got a real treat for you. His name is James Didawick, and he is the Utility Systems Manager at Inboden Environmental Services. He is also the president of Virginia Rural Water Association. James, say what's up to everybody.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for having me today, Joseph. Pleasure to meet you and be on your show.
Sure thing, sure thing. So you got one of those dual titles. You got a lot of stuff going on. So let's talk about cover the utility system manager at Inboden Environmental Services. Talk about what Inboden does, and then walk us through a normal day of what you're doing as a utility systems manager.
Well, Inboden Environmental Services is the largest utility contractor in the state, and we have four main components to the company. The first division is what we're probably most readily known for, which is contract operations. And we'll come into a client. It could be a municipality, it could be a business, it could be a private individual, and we will work with them for them to operate and manage their utility system. And that can include their water treatment process, potable water distribution system, water storage tanks, metering, wastewater collection, sewer lift stations, wastewater treatment, pretty much any or all of the above. Some clients we handle everything, some only a portion of their system. The second division of the company is the laboratory end. We do have an accredited lab and process samples for not only our clients, but property owners who may want to get a well checked for whatever reason, things like that. So we do offer laboratory services. The third component is engineering and consulting. We do have on-staff engineers that can assist clients with projects or advise them of projects that are underway. And then lastly, we have the construction division. So we can do construction in-house, or we can work with the client's contractor of choice. So between those four components of the company, our clients get good representation, good service, and if you have a particular project or a question that you would like to run by us, just go to your search engine and type in Inboden Environmental Services rather, because IES will take you all over the place, but that will take you to the main office, which is in Mount Jackson, Virginia, and they'll be able to respond to your questions from that point.
Sure. Answer this for me. What's the most frequent call you guys get? We know you guys come in and you can help construct, manage, operate these water treatment facilities, but like, is it because a municipal is too small? They might be understaffed. They might not have the right staff. It might be in the budget for them to hire you guys versus hire internal staff. So what's usually the main driver for somebody outsourcing it to Inboden?
Certainly all of the things that you just mentioned, Joseph, but the thing that we're seeing more and more every day, that the phone rings off the hook every day at the office, a lot of smaller systems will call in and say, hey, the only operator that we've ever had that has worked here for 25, 30 years is going to retire. We don't have anyone to replace him. Can you help us? And we see that more and more as operators such as myself have retired from one career and then have moved into something else, or they've gotten out of it altogether. But I would say singularly, that's the main thing. We also get called in if systems are experiencing difficulties, which could be sampling issues or water quality issues. So we'll work with the clients wherever the need is, but that's the one that I see recurring, is that we just don't have anybody to come in and take it over.
Sure. And correct me if I'm wrong, but you're familiar with like a business turnover. A business might be distressed, it can't operate correctly, and it needs somebody to come in and just right the ship and get them going in the right direction. Are there ever instances where you have to come in and kind of get the let's say the treatment facility going in the right direction? And then what goes through your brain? Like, what are the first couple things you do to right the ship and get it going in the right direction?
Well, certainly we do have instances where clients ask us to come in and just say, hey, can you take this over and get it to where it needs to be? That's not always the case, but it does happen. I'm currently working with a facility that their utility director retired. They had some changeover in personnel. Things just kind of got not off track, but needed a little bit more going in the right direction. So the first thing that I did, and there was another consultant assigned to that facility as well. We went in, met with the operators, and I asked the supervisor. I said, "Give me one of your operators, and I'd like to start at the very beginning of the process and go all the way through. And I want him to tell me every single thing that's wrong, even if you have a light bulb out in one of the buildings. We want to start at the very beginning and work our way through, get a big picture representation of where we are, and that's going to help us where we need to be." So after we did that, we were able to sit down with the town administration and make recommendations as to this is what we recommend you address immediately, that is your highest priority. These items probably within the next 6 months, and then we're looking at for budgetary purposes next year, 3 years out, 5 years out, part of the ongoing capital improvement plan. So that's kind of how I approach the most recent facility that I've worked with in that regard.
Sure, sure, that makes sense. And then you also are president of the Virginia Rural Water Association.
Correct.
It sounds like it kind of goes hand in hand, because the Rural Water Association is also, or like you also said that Inboden, you help out smaller systems. So is
Correct.
there a lot of crossover knowledge and skill set with that? And then tell us about the presidency, how it's going for you so far, and then I guess some of your marching orders for this year as a president.
Well, I started out, I've been affiliated and active in the association for a number of years, but it wasn't until probably about 6 or 7 years ago that I had the opportunity to go on the board of directors to fill out an unexpired term. And from there, I just kind of went into the role of vice president for a year or so. And then the opportunity came up to be president. That was not by design, it was by accident. But I have to say, when I get to the end of the line and look back, being president of that association will certainly be, if not the high point, certainly one of the high points in a career that right now is going on 37 years. So I'm very proud to work with the staff and the board of directors and move that association forward. And as you said, we work with, or the rural water staff rather works with smaller systems. That's what we're geared to. Usually with service populations less than 10,000 people. So that's also a lot of the similar sized clients that IES works with. So I do see periodically rural water staff out and about in my travels. I don't know how surprised they are to walk in somewhere and see the president already there, but it's made for some good stories. Yeah. But there's a lot of overlap in that. Our company and also rural water work to support the smaller systems, the ones who don't have large sums of money to work with, large income streams to work with, where they really have to sit down and make the tough, difficult decisions. What are we going to spend money on and get the most value for the dollar that's going to benefit the customers?
Interesting. And this might be a dumb question, but a small water system versus a large water system. Small water is 10,000 people might be serving. A large water might be, 400,000 or a couple million. Isn't water treatment at a small scale and a large scale? And then I guess the question I'm asking is, where's that mesh of where there's overlap from a large to a small, and then why do some of the small ones need a whole association to be able to help them out versus a large one?
Well, it's small versus large is kind of like a Volkswagen and a Mack truck. They'll both get you from point A to point B, but it's an entirely different concept to do that.
That's a good point.
So the smaller systems, I hate to say it, in my my estimation rather, it comes down to money. The larger systems have it. the smaller systems just simply do not. So there again, they can call upon, I mean, of course, IES as a company will come in and we will negotiate a fair contract with the clients that will get the job done, and will also benefit the company in the process. Whereas Virginia Rural Water, we are funded by federal programs, federal grants from the National Rural Water Association. We work largely with that organization and also other state organizations. So if you call rural water, for example, leak detection, and that's just one of the services they provide, they will come in to a member system and perform that service free of charge. So again, a lot of the smaller systems who don't have the money to go out and hire an engineering firm or a consulting firm, they can hire rural water, and that will get them on the right direction. They may still have to spend money, but hopefully not as much money. And then what the rural water does in advance, let's say Inboden Environmental comes in, that's kind of laid a little bit of the groundwork for us, gives us a direction to go in, what maybe to look for, what areas to concentrate in. So I think to an extent, it kind of goes hand in hand.
Sure. All right, James, you've been at this for 37 years. I need you to walk us through your career trajectory. What got you into the industry, and then kind of the path you took to get you where you're at today?
Well, first of all, I've never met a kid yet who said, when I grow up, I want to be a water and wastewater operator. It just doesn't happen. But I grew up in a small town and was active in Boy Scouts at the time. And part of the merit badges that we worked on, you had to go to the fire department and the police department and public works and learn about how the town worked and how it all came together. So that kind of planted the seed, I guess, in the back of my mind. And then as I got older and got out of school, I was working at a job that really didn't have much opportunity for advancement, and ran into a friend that I'd gone to school with, and he said, I hadn't seen him in a while. We started to talk, and he said, well, I just left my present job. And he said, I went to work as a wastewater plant operator. And he said, it just wasn't for me. So he said, I went back to my old job, but he said, you'd probably be pretty good at it. He said, my brother works there. He said, why don't you give him a call? And I did, and started out. And I was very fortunate in that my boss at the time, who I actually ended up working with now with this company, so it kind of came full circle. But he sat me down when I started out, and he said, if you apply yourself, this is where you can go in this field. And I thought, now, let me get this straight. You'll pay me to go to school. You'll assume all the expenses to send me and get trained. When I sit for my license exam and pass, I get a raise. I thought, where do I sign up? And that led to being in an operator position. The chief operator at the facility where I was moved on to take another position. My employer said, would you consider being chief operator? So I did that for a few years. They approached again and said, we'd like a utility director, create a new position to be utility director over all aspects of water and sewer. Would you be doing that for us? And they said, we'll give you an office based at the public works facility. And then, as I like to say, they found out I knew how to drive a truck and run heavy machinery, and that kind of led into more public works related projects. So at the end, I not only had public works, but water and wastewater treatment, utilities, the whole 9 yards. So when I retired from that position, it just kind of made, to me, sense to be able to go back and work on water and wastewater related projects, which is what I liked, what I was trained for, went to school for, and be able to do that without dealing with all of the political aspects and other facets of municipal government. So that's kind of what got me from point A to point B.
Sure. Let's say you had to mentor, young James. Young James, he just got his certs. He's ready to start his first day on the job. And he asked you, he says, what skill set should I pick up to be good at what you're doing today? What would that one skill set be?
I'm going to say two things, but I think they go hand in hand, and that's time management and being organized. Because anyone in the utility business can tell you, you'll come in, plan your day in 15 minutes, that's out the window, and you're going an entirely different direction. But you're going to have projects that are at substantial completion, so they're 75% finished. You got projects that are 50% underway, projects that are 25% up and running, and then things that are in the developmental stages. And to keep all of those balls juggled in the air simultaneously, if you can't manage your time and be organized, I think you're going to be sunk pretty quickly. That would be my recommendation.
All right. Time management, organization. All right. So I'm sure you have some stories. So I did a story from James of when something went wrong under your watch, what you did to fix it, and then what lessons you learned from it to apply to your future career.
Well, gee, 36 years, nothing ever went wrong. What can I tell you?
Never.
The if I had to write a book, this would be a chapter. We had a flood, pretty significant flood event some years ago, and at the time, our source water was surface water, so we were drawing water out of the river. And as the flood waters started to recede, the mud, the sediments, settled out over the raw water intake pipes, where we would draw water into the raw water lift station and pump it to the plant for treatment and then to the distribution system. So this was about the consistency of wet concrete or peanut butter. You could not get the liquid through the mud to pick it up to treat it. And the chief operator calls me and he said, I've done some quick calculations, and between system demand and if we get a water main break, if we get a fire scene, we're going to run out of water at whatever time. And I said, well, are you sure? He said, I'm sure. I've run the numbers 3 times, and if we don't get this thing up and running, we're going to be in a world of hurt. So the pump station was actually lower than the bottom of the riverbed. So the water from the river ran downhill through the pipes to get to the lift to the pump station. And this is proof that there's a God in heaven, because I was not smart enough to figure this out. But as I stood there and looked at this, the idea just came to me. And to this day, I don't know how I came up with it, but we had a large bypass pump that we used. And I thought, if I can get that pump close enough to the source water, I can use that to get water to the lift station. And if I can increase the head pressure, build it up, I can force the mud back out through the pipes into the receiving stream, the river, where it'll wash downstream. And the more I thought about it, I told my operators at the time, I said, we're going to try this. And they said, do you think it'll work? I said, I don't know. I've never done this before, but we don't have any other choice at this point. So in order to take some of the head away, we had a vent that was at ground level. So we took the vent out, which still gave us plenty of head pressure going down, but we didn't have to pump it as far up over top. So, that cut out about 15 or 20 feet. So we hooked up the pump, we laid the lines, we started the pump, and it kept filling, and all of a sudden you just saw out in the receiving stream where the mud and the air and everything just blew it out, and it took off. So the operator at top at the plant, and I said, we're going to run this about 15 minutes, and I want you to turn a pump on. If it runs, I think we're going to be okay, but start slow and we'll just build it up. And that's what we did, and it worked. I never had to do it before. I've never had to do it since, but I actually got 1 or 2 of these gray hairs from that experience.
So 1 or 2?
Yeah, just 1 or 2, because that, I guess you call that incentive when they're looking at you saying we're going to run out, and that decision is solely on you, and you're going to have to face the consequences, good or bad. So it worked, but that's the one that comes to mind when you ask that question.
Nice, thanks for that. That could be a movie scene in itself, man. That's pretty cool. All right. So talk me through your personal development regimen. How does James keep showing up better and better? You got 36 years in this industry. You could just put your feet on the desk and go, I know everything. I've been through everything. But what forces you to keep putting new information in your brain to operate more efficiently?
The fact that periodically I would get a call from the chief operator, you need to come down here and look at this. And I'd go look at it and look at the staff and go, huh, never seen it do that before.
Wow.
So to stay on top of, I read a lot. I read a lot of fiction, nonfiction, sometimes both at the same time. Um, I also read and have actually authored numerous articles in several industry publications and try to attend. Getting back to Virginia Rural Water, the association puts on training opportunities on a year-round basis, in addition to several large events through the year, the annual conference, the leadership symposium, the equipment exposition that we have in the fall. All of those events have training classes with them, so I try to attend those wherever possible. And in addition, Inboden Environmental Services also offers in-house training for the staff. So it's a combination of uh, pretty much all the above.
Nice. Nice. I like that. What would you say is the biggest misconception about your position? Let's say I ask somebody that knows you and I say, what does James do? What value do he provide to, the to the community? What would they get totally wrong in answering that question?
That, and I think this was prevalent during COVID, that public works and public utilities are not essential personnel, because the fire department, the police department, the doctors, God bless them all, we'd be in a world of hurt without them. But it used to just really get under my skin because we would do the Zoom meetings remotely, and the chief of police would come on and say, "Oh, we had a business send gift cards in today to give all the officers gift cards to Cracker Barrel, and we had a citizen come in and tell the staff that they want to cater lunch, when all this is over and we can get together." And that's great. I'm glad they did. But at the same time, I've got operators at the water plant eating bologna sandwiches to try to keep the tanks full, the lines pressurized so everybody else can go to work. And nobody knew they were there. Now, we signed up for that. That was part of the job, part of what goes with it. I get that. But it just kind of stung a little bit, if that's the right word. But I think as time went on, uh, a lot of localities came to that realization that, hey, there are people out there behind the scenes and we don't see them, we don't hear about them, because in the water business, you can be golden 364 days a year and mess up one time, you're never going to hear the end of it. That's what everybody will refer to. So that's the thing that I would hope that people knew, is that we are essential. We may be unsung heroes as far as recognition goes, or accolades go, but what we're doing is still very important. And I mean, we know that, and as long as some of the public knows it, I think we're in good shape.
Yeah. What would you say is the most impactful pat on the back from the public to your operators out there right now? Something that would go, it's a perfect way to show a gesture of appreciation to your operators. What would that be?
I had just thank them. If you see the guys out somewhere, just a word of thanks. Blow the horn, give them a wave. The guys flagging traffic don't like you to wave at them for obvious reasons. But I had a quick story.
Yeah.
I had a water main break one night, and it was a bad one. The street was tore up, big hole in it, heavy machinery all over the place, shut down. Guy comes out of the house, older gentleman comes out of the house, walks over to the excavation and looks in, and I thought, boy, here we go. I'm about to get it with both barrels. How long is this going to take? All this lights, all this noise, I can't go to. He doesn't say a word. He turns around and goes back into the house. I thought, well, I dodged a bullet. About 15 minutes later, the door opens. Guy comes out. He's got a grocery bag in each hand. Walks over to the first pickup truck that he comes to, tailgates down, and he stops, puts the bags on the tailgate, and he starts to pull out boxes of donuts and 2-liter Pepsis and Mountain Dews, soft drinks. And cups, and he sets everything up on the tailgate like a little mini buffet. And he turns around and looks at me and he says, "You guys are going to have a long, tough night." He said, "When you get a chance, take a break. We appreciate what you're doing." That's the kind of people I went to work for. That's the kind of people that really made you go about the task with a little bit renewed sense of pride, rather
Sure.
than the people who would come out and, you know.
Yeah.
So that's just give them a kind word, give them a thumbs up or a wave, or if you run into one of them, say, "Hey, thank you, we appreciate it." I think that would be the main thing.
Okay. Okay. Let's say James is commissioned to put up a billboard, and this billboard is in the most trafficked area of your part of Virginia. What ask of your community would you want to put on this billboard in regards to water, wastewater?
Well, National Rural Water and also Virginia Rural Water, we have a slogan: "We stand behind every drop," which means it can't be close enough. It has to be the absolute best that we can make it every single day, 24/7. And you could get on a plane, go anywhere in this country, and I could come out to where you are right now, get off the plane, stop at the first drinking fountain in the airport terminal, and get a drink of water, and be assured that that water meets standards and criteria. And a lot of people, you just go throughout your day and you don't give that a second thought. Um, again, if I were going to put the billboard up, it would be something along the lines of quality on tap. We all live downstream to preserve the water quality, and to just, if you see the guys out, thank them, give them a word of thanks.
Okay. And then anything you want to shout out or make noted from Inboden?
The company, as I said, we're taking on new clients every day. There is discussion about expanding the company because we really have to at this point in order to meet the demand. So there's a lot of aspects at play that I'm not certainly aware of at my level, but I would venture to say don't be surprised if you see an expansion um, within the company and taking on more clients and growing and getting larger moving forward. And we are still committed to providing the top level of service that we can provide to the clients and the people that seek out our services. So again, if you have a need or an idea or a question you want to run by somebody, please reach out. Somebody will be happy to talk to you and give you some direction or insight on it.
Nice, nice. Okay. All right. So I always like to leave a space on the show for you to thank mentors you had along your journey. And also, I want you to offer up a word of inspiration and motivation to your fellow rural water counterparts.
Oh, gee whiz, mentors. There's been so many of them over the years, and a lot of them have gotten into other lines of work. A lot of them have retired, and unfortunately, a lot of them have also passed away. So it's really hard to pick out any one single individual because I'm a product of all those people because they all had an influence, good or bad. I mean, even the bad ones, I learned how not to do things or what does not work in certain situations. Um, so it's tough to single out any one particular individual in the business because there's been so many. Um, Certainly, again, the staff at Virginia Rural Water, my fellow board of directors, I'm fortunate to have 4 past presidents that are still on the board. That all I have to do is make a phone call or send an email, and I have different perspectives, different viewpoints. Um, I've become close friends with them personally, in addition to being professional colleagues, and they've become an extension of family. So I would say that organization and the people that have served on it over the years have certainly had an influence on me.
Okay. Okay. All right. Let's say I'm coming to town. Where's your part of Virginia? What area? Or
We're the company headquarters is in Mount Jackson, Virginia. We are centrally located in Shenandoah County, Virginia, which is in the heart of the Shenandoah Valley. So we
all
have
right.
beautiful scenery, 4 seasons throughout the year. So we're right in the middle of it.
Okay. Let's say I'm coming to Shenandoah Valley and I text you ahead of time and I say, hey, James, where can I go to get the best burger in the valley? Where are you going to send me?
Southern Kitchen in Newmarket, Virginia. That's the next town south of Mount Jackson. They've been there since 1955. It's family owned and operated, and you won't go wrong if you stop there. I try to get in there every chance I get.
There you go. Southern Kitchen. I like it. All right, James, before we get out of here, any final words?
No, thanks very much for having me this afternoon. I really appreciate it. It's been fun. I've never done one of these before. So thanks for having me on.
Sweet, sweet. Well, James, thank you for hopping on the show. Thank you for sharing your part of your 36 years of experience with everybody. Again, my motive is for somebody younger to listen to this conversation and pick up something and be able to apply it to their career and move forward in life. So thank you for hopping on. To all the listeners out there, make sure you share this with somebody who you think needs to hear it. This has been the Public Works Podcast, and thank you for tuning in.